It is it Tuesday? Tuesday the 29th of November. Both of us, neither of us know what day it is.
No,
Hello, UK Crime Book Club. I'm here with Louisa Scarr, and we're going to be talking about Seen to Be Believed. And do you want to introduce yourself better than I've just done and tell everyone a bit about the book?
Yes, certainly. And apologies because my dog is trying to. What are you doing? Is here, so I'm not like. I'll just show the dog, so everyone will think I'm being insane. So I have a dog who will not leave me alone.
You need to stop worrying because members love it when the dogs get involved and the cats.
Well, he's a bit distracting. So anyway, hello. My name is Louisa Scarr. I'm the author of the Butler and West series. So the fourth in this series, it begins with, let's start from the beginning, starts with this one, Last Place You Look, then that one, Under Dark Cloud, we're doing the whole lot, then that one, which is Blink of an Eye, and then this one, which is the latest one, which is Seen to Be Believed. So a little bit about Seen to Be Believed. It begins as a woman is attacked in her home.
I need to stop smiling because Kaz has just said, "How's your lovely dog, Louisa?" And I'm just thinking about Max. But with what you're about to say, I need to straighten the face a bit.
Yes. Anyway, yes, a woman, very serious. A woman is attacked in her home. So her and her young son, Robin and Freya, who are the Butler and West in this series, they attend the scene, and it's a little strange in that there's the attack was very violent, very unprovoked. There's nothing that he's really taken except sort of laptops and iPhones, and even though there were much more expensive valuables. And then when they start digging, they discover that the intruder has made no effort to hide his face, and is very quickly identified. So their investigation takes them to the company that the husband runs, the husband who wasn't there at the time, which is a software company in the middle of nowhere. And it makes very expensive, very valuable virtual reality software. And soon they start to think that actually the strange things that are happening, the various crimes that have been committed, are related to Andrew Grace, his business partner, who's a guy called Tiller Hamilton, and this company. So that's how it all begins. So it's got a bit of that. It's got this dog in it, because I couldn't resist writing about him, and and it's got a little bit more about Robin and Freya's relationship as that progresses.
We've got some hellos already, and I'm beaming because Fran's here. Francesca Riccardi, hello.
Hi, Fran.
Thank you, Kaz, for tagging everyone, and hello, Leslie. So I loved this book. Absolutely love this book. There's just so much to like, and the fact that it opens with this really violent scene, this huge guy, going into this house, and it's literally the prologue, so I'm not spoiling anything.
No, it's the first chapter. Well, yeah. Prologue.
He literally barges in, and it's a little girl on the phone to the police. Mummy's being hurt, brother's being hurt. And they're telling her to hide. And as a mum, this is not a book. It's not an opening you like, but at the same time, it's blooming gripping. It really is. Your heart's in your mouth with it. And I will say, Max does not get hurt in the book. I don't usually do any form of spoiler. However,
the dog. No.
Yeah, you don't need to go and look it up on the Does the Dog Die website.
The dog is absolutely fine.
It's one of the things that the members do ask.
But I know. It's very important about the dogs. Never kill the animals. You can kill as many humans as you like. Maybe even a child you can get away with, but never a dog.
Not the dog, not the cat.
No, oh God, no, not the cat. No, the dog's absolutely fine.
I absolutely love the fact that you've got a really clear camera image, because it's such a rare thing in a book. I'm not, the CCTV image.
Oh, yes.
The guy coming in. And I love that because it's always a grainy image. Nobody can ever be identified from this dodgy image, which is absolutely fine. It can be realistic in certain circumstances, but it is a bit of a pet peeve of mine. These dodgy cameras.
They know who he is straight away. Yeah.
You've got his face. He's not tried to hide his face, or he's not got gloves on. He's literally just barged into that house and caused absolute chaos and then done a runner.
He's not the brightest tool in the box, though, that dude.
No, thick as mince is the term that I would use. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
He must have been quite fun to write.
Yeah, I mean, for my sins, I decided to write him French, which was, I don't know why. Sometimes you get these things in your head, and I just saw him as like this, like massive French bloke, which caused problems of its own, because then when they do the interview with him, which was one of my favorite things to write, actually, it was an absolute nightmare, because the phrase "no comment," you can't translate it, because you have to get the context right. You can't just translate "no comment," which is what I did. I typed it into Google Translate and then whacked it in, and then sent it to my friend who speaks French and said, "What's no comment?" And nobody could agree on what it is. So I think in the end we agreed it's a direct translation of "I have nothing to say," I think is what. But there was so much debate. I mean, everybody had different views. So
Did you end up thinking, I wonder if I should have made him Spanish or Italian or something instead, just to have the phrase?
At least I found people that were French that could translate it for me. And also then there were a couple of, the only other translated French are swear words. So then I was like, can you translate "no comment" and that and that? And they were like, yeah, okay.
So the other bit's easy as anything.
They were more enjoyable. The people that translated them were like, yeah, that's what this is. That's easy. But the "no comment," yeah, was tricky. It was really tricky.
We've got VR, so virtual reality, is a big part of the book because it's what the tech company does.
Yes.
And it always feels a bit stalkerish looking up authors before interviews, especially when I've met you in person. So I actually feel like I know you a bit more than I do with some of the people that I interview. And it does, you feel like a stalker. It's bizarre. But but you do have history at a tech company and you've been waiting to use this idea.
Yeah, so I always, for a long time, since I started writing, I had the idea of a tech company in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of, beautiful Hampshire countryside, called Hamilton Grace. So I always had the name in my head. It had to be called Hamilton Grace. And I deliberately haven't used Hamilton or Grace with any characters before, because I needed it for this tech company. And I wrote it, I think, in 2 other books, but it just got written out because it just didn't work.
Right.
And then I started trying to work out what Seemed to Be Believed was about, and started thinking about Tiller and Andrew and this company, and it all just fell into place. So yeah, I used to work 15 years ago. I worked at a tech company, and full of, I mean, it's not quite the same as Hamilton Grace, but it's very similar in sort of style. And anybody that knows the company will recognize certain bits of it. But it just I just couldn't resist. It was such a wonderful place to work. And 2 of the guys actually that helped me, because I know nothing about software or virtual reality, worked at that company with me. So they were like, oh yeah, okay. So I was explaining the plot. This is the bit where you kind of, you write it and then you speak to the people that know, and you think, oh my God, like, is this actually a thing? Is this actually possible? This is what I want to do. Can I do this? And they were like, yeah, it's feasible. It's about right. Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of tweaks, and a lot of trying to get it right, like get all the software techie bits right. So they checked all of those. But yeah, it is a feasible thing, which was reassuring.
Can you hold up Seemed to Be Believed again, please? There we go. Great minds think alike. We spotted that at the same time. So yeah, it is Seemed to Be Believed, and it is the 4th in the Butler and West. So
yes, although you can read it as a standalone.
I think that. I don't think it gave too much away. You've got hints of other books, but I don't think it gave away anything that would really spoil it for you.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of backstory that I try not to spoil. So if you do read Seem to Be Believed and then you want to go back and read the other 3, I don't think it's spoiled. So I think you can then sort of catch up, so to speak. I know a couple of people that have been messaging me saying they've been doing that, which is quite nice. But in my head as the author, I'm always like, well, read it from the beginning and you'll get the whole Freya and Robin thing makes more sense when you read it all 4. And they're not that long. They're quite simple. You can read them easily. It's fine.
I read it in one go.
They're all, should say they're all absolute bargains at the moment. I think Last Place You Look is free on Kindle at the moment. and the others are all a quid. So, I mean, it's nothing.
Well, what we'll do, we'll have a look afterwards and we'll put a post in the group with the links to everything. So, Leslie's, somebody's commented "Soon to be believed," so thank you.
That's the one.
So I did think that the tech stuff, I'm not a big techie person. I did make a note of and there will be people snorting, laughing now. Me saying I'm not a big techie person is the understatement of this year. I can manage bits and pieces, but no. But I found it really easy to follow. I didn't think there was anything that was off-putting. It didn't read like a manual. And it's one of the notes that I made that I thought that was really easy to follow. It's enough there that makes you think you've got a basic understanding of it, or at least of what it could do.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want it. The story doesn't hang on understanding all the software stuff. The story is about the people and the crimes and Robin and Freya and the police, basically. But I wanted to have some technical stuff in there. So if you were a software engineer, you could read it and go, oh yeah, okay. She's not completely made this up. But I must admit, I've done it before. So in Under a Dark Cloud, it's all about it takes place after a massive thunderstorm, and it's all about meteorology. And there's a whole section where he explains how the thunderstorms happen. I've got two friends who are both doctors in meteorology, and I must admit, I tried to understand it, and in the end, I literally sent it to him and went, Alec, can you write this paragraph, because I don't understand this? And he was like, yeah. So he like wrote that for me in a way that it was all about, I can't remember what it's called now, how storms are formed anyway. That's sort of, anyway.
I should know that because I've taught it in primary school, a very basic, very, very basic understanding of it. But I can't think
I can't remember now. Gosh, that shows how quickly
precipitation and
no, it's to do.
You've got the word precipitation out of me, which is to do with storm clouds and rain. That's as far as my brain will go tonight.
It's a special thing where all the pressure go. Anyway, I'm being really boring about storms. We won't go into it. But anyway,
somebody might tell us.
I didn't understand. Clearly, still don't understand it because I can't remember it.
You've got a lot of experts. I was reading the acknowledgements at the end of Seem to be Believed, and I mean, you've thanked everyone at Canelo, which is lovely because I'm reading it going, lovely Fran, lovely Louise.
You have to thank your publisher.
But you know a lot of people, so you've got people on the school run that you've commandeered as.
Yeah,
I just love
this. Yeah, so Dan I met, I've told this story 100 times, but Dan I met on my very first day walking my son to school, and he was sort of neighbour behind, walking down the path, and we sort of met. And it was his daughter's first day as well, same class. And we started talking, and I think I just started writing at that point. I think I had one book under my belt and nothing else. And I said, well, what do you do? And he was like, well, I'm a cop. I'm a beat PC. And I was like, right, you are my new best friend.
Rubbing hands together.
Yes. Oh. And yeah, so he's volunteered information the whole way through my writing career, sitting down with me very patiently explaining, this is how murders are investigated, this is how missing people's investigated. I mean, he's been in the job coming up to 30 years, so he's done everything and he knows everything about it. And he's a wonderful, but we have these conversations on the school run, which is better or worse, I don't know, the conversations you have when surrounded by little tiny people talking about
I doubt they're listening.
I don't think they're
just
listening,
skip along in front of you, paying no attention until about 2 years later when they say, Mummy, do you remember that time?
There's a story actually and I can't remember which book it is. I think it's in Seem to be Believed, when Robin goes on the first date with Jo. And she's telling a story about how one of her colleagues climbs in through a window and puts her foot through the dead guy's head. And that's true. That's something that Dan told me on the
school. I can't believe that's true. Yeah, there is a reference to their first date, a memory of their first date reference.
Yeah. So it's in Seem to be. I couldn't remember when it was that one or the one coming up. I knew I'd written it.
Yeah.
Because I've been trying to get it in for ages. So, time's never right for that sort of thing. But
I don't know. I think the time's always right for that sort of thing.
Well, anyway. So that was something that he told me about on the school run. So yeah, he's been great. And then so I've got Dan, and then I have another friend whose name I can't say, but he works on professional standards. So like the AR12 or whatever it is in line of duty. He works for them. So
AC12.
AC12, but they're not called AC12.
No, not really.
So Dan tells me how it really happens, and then this guy will tell me how it should happen. How should cops be investigating a murder, etc., etc. So yeah, that's really useful.
And you meet somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah, and then you have to sort of pick the bits that work best for the plot, to be honest. And then I have a friend that's a doctor. He's my step-brother-in-law, who checks everything from a doctor point of view, which is so useful.
I bet it is.
And then various other people. My sister-in-law's a pharmacist. She does everything drug-related, which comes into handy. What else? My other sister-in-law is a paramedic. So anything that Matt can't answer that's doctory, that's about more about paramedics, she answers. So I know I've got a friend that's a blood spatter expert. She's very useful.
I bet she is. When I was reading the list of acknowledgements, I was thinking, but they're good. Oh, but they're really good. Oh, can you imagine just how much fun you can have with a glass of wine and a conversation?
As soon as I started talking to the blood spatter expert, like every book ended up with a blood spatter scene in it. So I was just like, gotta write this in. In we
go. Fran said, yes, Last Place You Look, book 1 in the series is free on Kindle at the moment. So anyone reading on Kindle, go and download that. Francesca's also said, Louisa, I think it's fair to say that your books are on the darker side of the crime spectrum. What is it about the darker side of human nature that makes you want to write these horrible, in a good way, books? I actually wrote a comment. I wrote, you're mean, you don't hold back. I like that in an author.
I mean, why am I mean?
What you do to the characters, I can't trust you, and I like that in an author. I can't trust you to keep people safe. I can't trust you not to do things. I can't trust you not to take it, across the boundaries. And I really like that because it means I never know what to expect.
Yeah,
so that is a huge compliment. Me saying you're mean is a big compliment.
Yeah. Well, I won't kill the dogs. I mean, we can.
That's fair enough. No, good.
Not allowed to kill the dogs. I tried. To be fair, I did try in one book, and my editor came back and said, "You can't kill the dog." So I was like, "All right."
No.
The dog survives. So in answer to, I don't know what's it's about the darker side of that makes me. It's just more interesting, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. Don't get me wrong, I like cozy stuff as well, but an author that will really go there. I like that. I appreciate that.
I like things in books to move very quickly, and I like writing books that move quickly because I think I have quite a short attention span when it comes to writing. So I like to write quite quick, and I like books that move in that way. I mean, it's terrible, but I'm fascinated by all the pathology and all the awful things that people do. I mean, I studied psychology at uni, so but we never did any criminology, but I would have loved to do some criminology. But I think that why people think the way they do and why they do what they do, I think is the most interesting. And it's the most interesting part of writing crime is thinking about why this person is doing this and what's the motivation behind everything. I think that's just the most fun to explore, to be honest. And then I do like a good love story. It's
I agree.
But I'm sorry, I think you have to write a bit of love in
there. Francesca, what does it say on my mug? Although the voices aren't real, they've got some pretty good ideas. This is one of my favourite mugs. This is my biggest of my favourite mugs. Comes in quite handy.
It's a very good mug.
Somebody said you have so many useful friends. You really do.
I do. Well, I sort of collect them, to be honest. But that it's not just. I also kind of write books that I know I can write. So I don't like to get myself in a hole where I've sort of kind of like I want to write about something and I can't because I don't know that. So I knew I had 2 doctors in meteorology, so I could write Under a Dark Cloud, and I knew what's Blink of an Eye more about. Okay, I knew I could research that. That's different. And then I knew I had friends who worked in software that I could that I
Yeah.
could call on. So yeah.
Francesca, really interested in the mechanics of a foot through the head. Do you have to stamp through the skull? Was it an old one? A skull's very fragile. I suppose it depends on the point of foot entry, doesn't it? Do you want to explain this? I can't
It was a
believe
very
this was
old.
real.
It was a decomposed skull. Sorry, I need to cough. It was a decomposed skull. It'd been sat there in the house for 6 months, which is why it was possible to put a foot through it, I believe.
It's pretty much what you wrote, yeah. I can't even. All I can think about is what it must have smelled like.
Oh yeah, God knows.
I don't want to know. Jane Roper's downloaded book one. She said, "Thank you, Jane. That's good. Already getting books downloaded."
I have a theory that all married female crime writers are so good because they want to kill their husbands. Can you confirm?
I don't know who asked that. I'm going to say
somebody asked that. We have a bit of a joke in the household. I am married. He's out there making a lot of noise. We have a bit of a joke in the household that if my husband ever goes missing, that I'll
was
never
Guy
get
Hale
done for it because I'm too sneaky about it. It won't be obvious. But yes, it's always good to have that in your back pocket.
Guy Hale wanted to know that they want to kill their husbands. I think his wife has probably got several books in her head. My friend, I can say what I like because he's gonna say things to me as well. In fact, I've got.
But no, I don't generally want to kill him. The dog, yes, he's a bit of a pain. He's sat down here now. He's nagging me, which is a bit worrying. Can I just text my husband and tell him to come and get the dog to take him?
You absolutely can. You do that, and I'll just quickly show Guy's books because I've got them right behind me. This is always a disaster. This is where I knock things over. She says, knocking things over. Oh dear Lord. Okay, so Guy wrote "Killing Me Softly" and then "Blood on the Tracks." He's a funny and quite creepy, and I've just
have you knocked all your books over now?
I've not books over, but they landed safely, so I'm good. Just checking that I've not broken anything. I shouldn't touch things that are behind me. I really shouldn't. But yeah, and Francesca says, "Thank you, Re-Skull clarification."
It might not have been Dan that told me actually, because there are a few people on the school run that do these things, similar things. I know it's awful, isn't it? And then we all sort of gravitate to each other.
Do you all have like a dark aura and you just find each other?
I think that's what it is. I think it's just like, yeah, it's.
In fact, I've just spotted another Canelo author, Sheila Bugler's here. You Were Always Mine. I'm not touching anything else, but go and download Sheila and go and buy Sheila Bugler's books because they're amazing. What is there more research that you've really wanted to use? You were saying that there were things that you've wanted to put in each book, but it hasn't worked. Have you got more things like that kind of lingering? I won't ask you to give examples, but have you got things like that you really dying to put into a book?
There's a few, yeah. I must admit, oh, there we go. Sorry, my husband's just going to take Max. Go on, okay. Go on. Go, Daddy. There we go. Dog's gone. Good. Last time he nagged me when he really needed a wee, he then weed on, not my husband, the dog. He then weed on the floor. So I don't quite trust Max now not to wee on the floor. What was the question? Oh, yes. Yeah, so I really wanted to do fire. I really wanted to do arson. So okay. I've held off. So it's a bit of a spoiler, but not really because it happens in the first prologue. But book 5, which comes after this one, is all about arson. So I held off setting fire to anything at all until, because I knew I was going to set fire to everything in book 5. So yeah, I always wanted to do arson. I'm trying to think what
and
else.
That one's already written, isn't it?
Yeah, I just got edits back today actually, so I need to like sort it out a bit because it's a bit of a mess. But yeah, I mean Fran might be able to clarify, but I believe it comes out in July. I want to say July the 7th. So quite a bit of a gap for that one, but yeah, it's a good one. It's got some fun stuff in it. And yeah, I can't
wait to read it, and I don't want to wait months and months to read it. But also, there will be answers to things that I want answers to that I don't want the answers to.
You assume there's going to be answers to things. All the dog's back.
Yes, should be in July as long as you do your edits in time.
Oh, there's some feedback, isn't there? Yes, I will do edits in time. What did you say before then?
It was the things that you've been holding off wanting to use.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I've kind of put a lot of other things in books that I wanted to do. I mean, there's always ideas that came up. I read a Guardian article today, which I won't say what was it about, but it was fascinating, and I thought, God, you could write a whole novel about that. It's just little things like that you kind of see when you read news articles or stuff like that, and you think, actually, that could, you just save them, and then something comes back later.
Are you like me? If you got like 500 notebooks with things in that you're probably never even going to look at again, but you wrote them down at the time.
I have files, and I have a little book here, which is like, it's an old diary, but it has like one page, and then it has just, if I have a name, just various. Oh, look, there you go. There's the one for there. 4 people found on a beach. One of them is dead or injured. What happened? ? So it's like just a setup, and that's basically blink of an eye. And you can see I've crossed through it because I've obviously used it. So it's just like things like that just occur to me, and I just sort of scribble down, and then they turn into a book. So yeah. Eventually.
You do strike me as somebody who is organised. I am getting more organised. I'm organised with book club stuff, but it's my own stuff. I kind of put things off and put things to one side and just focus on everybody else's stuff. And that's, I don't know, give me some advice on being more organised.
I don't know. My sister-in-law always asks this because she's less naturally inclined that way. But I think it's just, if I'm not organised, my brain gets a bit too like clogged up, and I need to just like get it down. So I have like a to-do list, like a day book thing. And also when you're writing crime books, I think you can't do it without being organised. At least, I mean, this is a work in progress, but that's how I sort of plot, by sticking all the cards up on the board. And then if I can, and I'm a very visual person as well. When I write, I can see the scene. So if I can see it all on the board, like here, it's a lot easier in my head to write. So I think it just sort of, it's just a slight natural way. Now, my dog is pacing. Sorry, he's so annoying.
Do the different colours represent anything? I'm just looking at blues and oranges, pinks and yellows, green, I believe.
Yeah, so the orange is actually a new thing that I'm trying. So I'll pick one up. So I normally follow the Save the Cat thing when I write. And so I thought this time when I plot it, I'll write the big main things on orange cards. So this is part of the finale. So now I lost where it should go.
Sorry, I'm making you touch things that you shouldn't be touching.
Yeah. So I've tried it this time to plot it. So that's what all the orange cards are. And then all the different colours are, because of the way I generally write, I have one chapter per point of view, so per person, basically. So for this, each different colour is the different people. This is this isn't the one I'm writing at the moment. And then I haven't got any of them out, but then I get little Post-its, and that's the different, and little colours for those, and that's the different plot lines. So for example, there's a Freya/Robin plot line that has its own little blue Post-it, and then anything relating to that's particular to the plot goes on, and then I stick it up. So it's all kind of mapped out like that, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I was debating whether I can say this, but it's not self-promo because I've not written anything. So, but I have got the bay window in my living room. I have got the 15 plot points from Save the Cat stuck up, and then there's blank Post-it notes underneath them with nothing written on. But then there's other bits from the Save the Cat beat sheets kind of printed and stuck to either side of the bay window. So I've got my own little kind of murder board sort of thing, but I need to move it because it's where the Christmas tree is going at the weekend, so need to find a wall in my office.
I wrote sort of maybe 3, I'm trying to think, 4 or 5 books maybe before I've discovered Save the Cat, and then I realised that I was writing to that structure anyway. It's just now I'm being a little bit more formal about it, and I thought I would try and plot with that in mind this time. So yeah, it's they're really good.
So for anyone who doesn't know what Save the Cat is, it was originally a screenplay by Blake Schneider, working through, there we go. And the writer novel is Jessica Brody. And I remember her name because she's one of the main characters in Homeland. So I kept thinking her name seems really familiar. Why is that?
I've got the screenplay one as well. I mean, this is a really obvious thing to say, but I've got the screenplay one, so I was using that. And then I thought, well, actually, maybe I should read the novel one to see if it's more useful. And surprisingly, it is more useful if you're writing a novel. So now I have both, but this one lives up here. So yeah, I'll put it away in a minute.
So there's 5 books in the Butler and West series. The 5th one is the one that's out next year. Can we convince you to write more after that one?
Probably not. So I don't know. It's really hard because when you write a series, you get very invested in the characters. So I'm, ridiculously obsessed with like Robin, and when I come to pick up to write a Butler and West again, and I kind of pick up Robin, pick up Freya, it's like going back to old friends. It's really strange. So to not write Robin anymore is actually feels very quite upsetting.
I'm not very happy with you. I think
because I mean I know these people so well, and I've spent like best part of 3 years with them. And I know what they look like. I know what they, I've got pictures of them on my wall there. It would be really hard. But on the other hand, I always designed the Butler and West series to be 5, and for their whole character arc to be 5 books, and it ends as it's supposed to end, which you don't know what it is, at the end of book 5. And that was always how I planned it. So then to write a 6th is quite difficult, I think. When it's, although I mean never say never, but I do have another series which I've been talking to Canelo about, and fingers crossed we are going to go ahead with that, which I think will be as good, if not better. So
can you say anything about that yet, or is this far too early to even discuss it?
I don't know. Fran, can I talk about it? I'm not sure. We haven't signed the contract yet, so maybe not. Things could all go wrong yet.
Well, in the meantime, I'll ask you Guy's question. Have you ever started a novel with an end scenario planned, but then the characters have dictated a different ending? I feel like this is what's happening with Guy's 3rd one. I had one idea and it's gone somewhere else. You can. Francesca says you can talk about it. So we'll go back to that in a minute.
She's put a little thing. Okay, so if I go back one. So the next series, very briefly, is about a detective, and she, or rather she used to be a detective because she lost her job when her husband went missing, and she went on a bit of a bender would be probably the right way of describing it. Anyway, she very nearly lost her job, and in an attempt to save her job, she gets demoted, and she takes a role as a dog handler in the dog unit of good old Hampshire Constabulary, looking after, believe it or not, a small black spaniel. And with that dog, she, I don't want to give too much away, but it's about her quest to find what happened to her husband, basically all that time.
I already like the sound of this one.
He went missing. She doesn't know where he's gone, and she there's somebody who actually still works in the murder team, a guy called D.I. Jack Ellis, and he's the one that's obviously properly investigating this series of murders that they discover, and she's sort of basically getting in the way, helping the dog's sort of getting in the way, and it's about that basically. So that's the plan. So yes. So but in answer to Guy's question,
so have they changed the ending as they've developed?
They do go off on their own tangents sometimes, and so I'm not one of these people that can plot a full book and then write the full book. I do need to have my fingers on the keyboard to see where it takes me, and often that means the characters do things which you weren't exactly predicting, or they say things you weren't predicting, and that can take the book off. Saying that, I think there's only one book which ended in a different way because of the characters, which isn't a Louisa Scarr book. So I'm not sure I'm supposed to talk about it.
No, we'll move on. We'll move on.
We'll move on.
Bonnie says it would be amazing to see Louisa's visualization of both West and Butler. I'm not going to make you show that if you don't want to show that.
Oh, it's fine. They're just pictures. It's a bit sad. So all my characters are based on actual real life actors. Mm-hmm. So see if you can show it. I'm trying to see. I'll take it down. So this is,
if you've got a lot up there, then
this is Robin. Top marks if you can work out who that is. It's an actor. But anyway.
See, I'm dreadful with faces and names.
So that's Robin. And then, this is Freya.
He does kind of look how I pictured him, though.
Does it? Whenever I share it to people, often people go, "Oh, he doesn't look like that in my head." I'm like, "Well, he looks like that in my head." This is Freya.
Again, quite similar to how I do.
And then this is dead. This is dead Jonathan.
Oh, okay, he's familiar.
That's Paul Walker.
Oh, of course it's Paul. See, this is what I mean. I'm no good putting faces and names together. Now you said it's Paul Walker. Of course it's Paul Walker.
Yeah, this is Paul Walker. And then this is a young Anna Torv.
Okay.
She was in Fringe and like Mindhunter. And Robin is Sam Worthington. Avatar.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Haven't seen it, but yeah. I'm familiar with him from adverts. I don't watch anything. This is the thing. So we'll get authors coming on and people will say, "Oh, who do you want to play this? And who would you want to play that?" And I'll just be sat here nodding and smiling and thinking, I have no clue, because if they're not in an old episode of Frasier, or if we're not watching them in Only Fools and Horses, then I've probably not seen them. My mum will say to me, "Oh, have you watched?" And I'll just think, "Have you not learned yet that I don't watch anything?"
Oh, see if I can recite the millions of films that have... Because obviously, as part of my research, I then go on Netflix and watch everything that the actor's been in. So pretty much I've seen everything that Sam Worthington's been in. So he was in... God, obviously, Avatar is the big one. He was in a thing with a crocodile when it gets eaten quite early on. Something about High Ledge, Man on the Ledge. Anyway,
I'm
not going to recite all the Sam Worthingtons, but anyway, that's what Robin looks like. So to not write him anymore is quite
Would you consider kind of maybe doing a short story or something, or a Christmas special, or a
my friend
something
said
to keep
them
going?
Christmas special, just so you can kind of see what they're up to and understand.
Yeah.
I know, but it would be like...
even if it's just for you.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And me, and me. Yes. I'd put myself on that list of people that got to read that.
I can't play with my imaginary boyfriend anymore. It's a bit sad, but never mind.
Don't even know what to do with that comment. Hope the closed and the husband's not listening.
He's used to this by now.
I'm sure he is. Guy wants to know if you're still lake swimming.
Yeah.
So is this cold water swimming?
Yeah, one of my books is a very old one actually. Starts when a woman swimming in a lake swims into a dead body.
Excuse me.
So,
nice.
Nice, yeah. So yeah, put everybody off lake swimming forever. That one's called Nowhere to Be Found. It's a bit different. Let me get it. Where is it? I
like this, just the idea of take a nice normal situation, give it to a crime writer and let them spoil it.
Oh, I can't get it out. There we go. Nowhere to Be Found.
I do love that cover.
My first name. But yeah, I am still lake swimming. But just not in the winter. I'm a bit of a wuss. I have to go in my wetsuit and has to be like at least, I think 18 degrees is my bottom limit. If it's any colder than that, I won't go in. Maybe 16 in a full wetsuit, but yeah.
Maybe this is a Canelo Arthur thing. I'm pretty sure that Sheila goes cold water swimming.
Sheila but some people are proper cold water swimming, like go in when it's cold in like just a swimsuit, and I'm not. I have to wear a like full wetsuit. And sorry, the dog's being right. Hey.
So I've no idea how cold 18 degrees is.
Not very. Not very cold at all.
I know that I thought the swimming baths was too cold, so I can't imagine me in a lake.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's yeah. It's not that cold at all. I'm a big wuss when it comes to the cold.
I've just
No,
decided
I do like swimming in the lake. It's definitely, yeah, it's the way forward.
I've just decided me and Francesca get on even better than I thought we did, because she said, you all swim and run and do wholesome things. It's revolting.
We need the brain space though, Fran. We have so much
we get ours from laughing and wine.
Stuff going on in our heads. We need the sort of the brain space to yeah. He's a good boy. Oh, he is.
Somebody said not going on a picnic with Louisa. Yeah, that's Guy as well.
Come here. If you're going to be in, you might as well be in the shot. Doing?
Yes, Max, please be in the shots.
Come here. Here he is. Yeah, he's pain.
Can I read that out? Francesca says, sitting on our asses watching telly. I think that's the only time I've ever said a swear word in one of these interviews, and the first time it was the same word.
You should have warned me actually that I couldn't swear, because I would.
No, you can swear. You absolutely can. It just a lot of people already know this, but I used to work in a primary school, so that's why it's lager in a mug. It is lager again tonight, everyone. So nobody could get a picture of me with a glass of alcohol. You know, none of the kids that I work with can get a snippet of me swearing. It's not like I'm not quite sweary. I have my moments. I definitely have my moments. But yeah, no, just being quite careful. Plus, my kids are teenagers, so you can imagine the fun their friends would have finding bits of me doing naughty things. So I'm well behaved if there's a camera aimed at me.
Oh no!
If there's a camera aimed at me.
That's always a fun part at the end when you finish writing the book, and you have to do a find on fuck to see what the fuck count is. And mine's always like, I don't know, over 100. And then
which one's got the most of them in? Which one's got the highest F counts? I don't think it was particularly sweary, this one.
It's not, because I have to. I go through and take it
and remove it all. So you literally put everything in and then remove it.
My mum's objection wasn't that it was swearing; it was that I didn't have the variety. So don't just use fuck. You have to use lots of other different, mix it up a bit. So I was like, oh, okay, right, fine. So I go through now and sort of change some of them, take some of them out. Yeah, so it's quite high. There's always a couple of mentions in various things that I think, am I going to get through past that with the editor? And then it goes through and I'm like, yes.
Do you ever put something in just to see if you can get it through? Not that anyone from Canelo, sorry Francesca, not that anyone's watching. Do you ever just think, I really want that in there. Let's see how far I can push this.
So book 5 has, which I think it's going to come out, a whole thing about wanking.
Oh, thank God, I just swallowed what I was drinking.
Yeah, sorry. It's got this whole sort of thing throughout. And they're all making jokes about it basically the whole time. And I have to debate now whether to take it out or to leave it in. And my editor came back. I got the notes back today and I had a quick read through, and she said, it's up to you, but so I don't know. And there was a mention, is it this one? I think it's this one. Mm-hmm. There's a mention of anal in it. And I thought that would get taken out because it's like a joke at the end. And I thought it would get taken out by the editor, and it didn't. I think it's this one. No, it's definitely this one.
So are you like not even secretly proud of that, just proud of that?
Just proud of it, yeah. Yeah. it's yeah, I could never, somebody's just talked about cozy, but I could never write cozy. I just don't have the temperament for it.
I do like reading some cozy, and I like the fact that Golden Age is somewhere between the two.
So, I like reading it. Yeah. I like reading it. I just could never write it.
Maybe you could just write the book, a third longer than you need it to be, and then we can just take out all those bits, and what's left is cozy.
But they're all the fun bits, Sam. They're all the really fun bits. I just couldn't resist, I think. I tried writing a love story, actually. So the genesis of Max, dude. Sorry, let me just just bonked him on the head with my elbow because he jumped into me. So the genesis of Robin and Freya was actually a love story that I started writing during lockdown. Lie down, good boy. That I mentioned it to my agent, and I said, I'm writing a love story. He was like, okay, good. And he was like, well, you realise with a love story you can't kill anyone. And I was like, I've killed 3 people already.
That sounds like a challenge to me. It's a love story, you can't kill anyone. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, so basically that book didn't go anywhere. I kind of abandoned it after about 50,000 words. But that was the first time that Robin and Freya appeared together.
I'm not reading out that last comment. Oh, of course it's Guy. Thanks, Guy. I'm not reading that out.
You can come again, Guy. So to speak. Sorry.
But
this is just dissolved into nothing. What were we talking about? Oh yeah. So I abandoned the 50,000 words and then took Robin and Freya and put them in a detective story, and that's where they came from. So yeah. So basically, it was like 50,000 words of character study. I mean, it was great because I knew who they were straight away and just whacked them in a detective story and off you go. There's no discovery there, but yeah, no love stories. This is essentially a 5-book love story, but some people
it is, but it's not at the same time. You could literally talk about everything else that happens through the police procedural aspect and not really think about the love side, but it really does add something. And not everybody can write that. Not everybody can make the love story as interesting as the crimes. So well done to you.
Well, hopefully. Really, I mean, some of the reviews on NetGalley weren't that complimentary. They were like, got romance in it. Oh yeah, but what's life without a bit of romance?
Like each other? Do they not think there's a bit of a
time together?
Drunken fumble at the Christmas do or anything like that? This is how these things happen. You put people in these intense situations and these strong bonds develop. How can they not? Whether it's friendship, whether it's love, whether it, whatever it is, how can such a compounded situation not create these intense, relationships? It's nonsense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have a bit of both. I think you have to have a bit of, it's just a bit of humanity, really. And a bit of,
you need lightness to go along the dark side. You do. But, Leslie said, I'd love a love story where one of them gets killed. I know you would, Leslie, yeah. Leslie likes dark, gritty, fast-paced,
I like dark, gritty, fast-paced, but I don't know. Have you read Freya North and...
Which one?
I can't remember what it's called, but it's about a guy, a woman and a man that meet, and he flies planes.
Little Wing?
No.
Turning Points?
No.
Pillow Talk? I don't know.
No. I can't remember. Anyway, and then that, bit of a spoiler, but she kills the main male love interest, and I was a bit gutted, I have to say. But yeah.
Oh, now I don't know if I don't know if I can even ask this. Can you tell us if you were leaving the series open just in case you want to come back to it? I wish I hadn't read that out, Guy. That's an awful question. No.
I would say never say never.
And on that point, I'll move on to another question, which is, you do a lot with other authors. So there's a group of you that write different things. You all talk about each other's books, promote each other. You've got a really good friendship group. That must be just the best thing.
Yeah. I would say it is. It's made a huge difference to my life, actually. So I had some friends that were authors, and then my friend Nikki Mackey introduced me to this group. It's basically a WhatsApp group that was set up during lockdown. I certainly joined during lockdown. And yeah, it's made a huge difference to my life, because there are people, being an author is a very strange job in that you spend so much of your time by yourself in your own head. And I don't think it's a job that a lot of people understand, because it's so strange. It's like you write these books, and even the way you're paid is very odd. Like, it's very, for a normal person to understand that you could do a year's work, submit it to publishers, and not get paid for that is a very odd concept. So I think having a group of people that understand that, but also support you in that, and support your books, and can read your books, and if you get stuck, like, we get together on Zoom and sort of talk about structures and talk about what we're stuck about, and you can sort of just brainstorm it. And yeah, it's really lovely. And it means that when you go to these events as well, people there, so that makes a huge difference to events like Capital Crime and Harrogate, when that there's some people that you can hang out with. Yeah, it's made a huge difference to my life.
It's a very strange thing to walk into to a festival and for people to know who you are. That it's the oddest thing. So I didn't recognise Francesca straight away. I kept thinking, I know this lady. Why? And then she came over and was like, Sam, Francesca. And I was like, oh my word, how did I not? But I've seen a teeny tiny avatar picture this day. And yeah, she's fantastic.
I would always say, don't assume that I know. Like, don't assume.
I introduced myself to everyone who was stood near. I didn't assume anybody.
If you know who I am and you want to have a conversation, just come up and have a conversation. Don't assume that because I haven't said hello to you, it's because I don't want to speak to you. It's probably because I have no idea who you are. And I'm terrible with faces. I'm really good with movie stars, but not so good with other people. So yeah. I would say always, if you see me sort of out at a festival or whatever, just come over and have a chat, and I'm always happy to talk about my books, which is terrible.
I really want to talk more about Seen to Be Believed. I don't want to give anything away. It's it's not a tricky thing if you're just looking at the beginning of the book. There is humour as well as the violence. There is real mystery. There are things that are set up that you think you're going to know what it is, and then you don't know what it is, and you don't know who it is, and you're not necessarily pointing towards anybody, which is even better, because it kind of leaves it open for the reader to look at. That must be such a difficult thing to do, just to keep everything juggled in the air. My point basically was that when I was looking up different things about you, and one of the things was advice that you give, was about the opening and closing of each chapter. To keep people interested. That was a long-winded way of saying that. I really enjoyed the fact that I'd get to the end of a chapter and I was so gripped with what you'd written, and I'd think, but I want the answer to that, and I was like, I really want to know what that is, and I'd start reading the next bit and kind of forget that bit because I got gripped with the next bit, and then when you got back to that bit I was really excited again. And then to learn that was obviously something that you do on purpose, but the fact that you give advice on that.
It was something that I'd learned. I mean, with writing books, you learn all this stuff, and it was my editor back when I was writing for Orion that said, always begin a chapter pulling people in, and end one dragging them onto the next chapter. So I basically sit down with a tick sheet with every chapter and tick off, is that achieving that aim, basically, and tick it off. And if it's not right, I'll rejig it. But yeah, that's sort of my goal, I guess, basically. So,
and it works really well, because it really did that. It pulled me along it pointed me in one direction and pulled me towards that. And then I really wanted the answer. And then you throw it completely in a different direction. And you kind of, not forget, that's unfair, but you just kind of move with the next bit and the next bit of the scene. And whether it's just, you do it so well. I'm basically trying to pay you a compliment and fumbling over my words.
that book was quite tricky as well. And the other thing with Seen to Believe is I wanted to put in a MacGuffin, which I've never used before. So that's when it's something that they have to find, or something that they're searching for. And I'd never used one before, and I always wanted to put one in. So yeah, there was quite a few different strands in Seen to Be Believed. Actually, there was, I think, 4 or 5. Normally I have like 3, and one of them's Freya and Robin, but that one had like 4 or 5, and about trying to find the MacGuffin and trying to do all the different things. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to write, but you often have to then you write it and you hope that you're pointing in the right direction, you're pointing the reader in the right direction so that they're perceiving it the way you want them. But it's only until somebody reads it and says, actually, I didn't read it in that way, or that's too obvious, that you start to think, oh, okay, and then you have to change some things and jiggle it around a little bit.
Bonnie's just said the short chapters is what kept her engaged. Bonkers, because a boyfriend hates short chapters. With your writing style, it just makes the read flow so easy. It really does, because you are just drawn to the next bit, and you have got questions floating around. And it's not always as... the flow isn't always as easy with the police procedural. Because you're in and out of the police station, you're here and there, you go into different scenes, you're picking things up, you've got different aspects to draw outsiders in. There is so much in this book, but it's so tightly written. I was just impressed the whole way reading it.
Oh, good, thank you.
We have got 2 minutes left. Do you want to give everybody a reminder of this series? Show everyone the book covers again. And I will drop a link in.
So there is the Butler and West series. Begins with this one, which is Last Place You Look, which is currently free on Kindle. The second one is that one. So Under a Dark Cloud. That's a bit of a locked room mystery, Under a Dark Cloud. So this guy is murdered in a van, and the guy with him could have only been the person that's murdered him, surely, but it's not as simple as that.
Covered in blood next to a dead body, but what really happened?
Blood spatter everywhere. Good old blood spatter. Blink of an eye. It starts on a beach on Christmas Day. 5 people, see if I can get it right. 5 people, and one of them is dead. And it's how did that happen? This one was a lot of fun to write. I really enjoyed Blink of an Eye. And actually, in that one, Sam Bowen is one of my favourite characters. Comes back. And this one, Seems to Be Believed, is about a tech company and an attack that happens in a home. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I've been really looking forward to talking about it and to trying not to give things away.
Yeah, that's fine. But I don't think we had any spoilers, so I think that's all right.
No, I think we were good.
Hope I didn't say anything too risque.
No, between you, Francesca, and Guy, I think you covered a fair bit. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is that Fran is a bad influence on me. Whenever I'm with Fran, my language just goes like, So I blame Fran and Guy.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope you come back for the 5th and hopefully not final book in the Butler and West series.
Yes, well, not final book forever, but because then we move on to a bit of dog. But yeah.
Thank you to everyone who's watched and asked questions, and thank you for spending Tuesday night with us.
That's all right, and I actually turned up at the right time rather than 8 o'clock.
And we are off